So welcome to Zoom for Viola. Remember, this is a practice tutorial, so start and stop as needed to practice the measures that are challenging for you. I'll show you a fingering and I'll play it, and then you're going to want to practice it until you're comfortable with it. We're going to try and build good habits, and then you're going to keep practicing and turn them into great habits. So let's get started. The first thing we see is there's one flat in the key signature, which implies that we're in F major. Just remember, we have a B flat unless we see a natural. Looking right ahead, in measure 1, we have 16 notes, so we're subdividing. Make sure you're counting 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... And every time you see 16th notes, make sure that's the way you subdivide your counting. Looking ahead at measure 2, you have this interesting syncopated rhythm. Again, subdivision is your friend. So we have 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and with the added bonus of the bowing being down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up. That way, we have lots of clarity on the down bow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Important to get that double up so your bowing stays consistent with the orchestra. Moving ahead, you'll notice that in measure 6, you get to deal with your first accidentals. So you have a nice high C sharp, then we have a natural symbol. Now that natural symbol is canceling the flat, so we go from a low 2 B flat to a high 2 B natural. So make sure we are paying attention to the fact that the natural in this case makes the note a half step higher. Same rhythm though as before, so as long as we pay attention to the notes, no problem. Okay, that takes us up to measure 10. So let's do measures 1 through 10 and see how it goes with a practice tempo. Ready? 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and... Measure 10, tutorial time. So here's a new rhythm. If you feel comfortable counting your subdivisions 1 and 2 and, you're gonna be okay. You need to find the 8th notes and you have to find the 8th rests. And then we just do basic math. Musical addition. So an 8th plus an 8th equals a quarter, and there are 4 quarter notes per measure, which means we can have an 8th something 8 times in one measure. So looking at measure 10, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The 8th note never changes. So it's either a note or a rest, but it always stays the same as you subdivide. So you're going to see that rhythm a lot in this piece. Like any composer, when you have a musical idea, it's typically repeated throughout the entire piece of music. So measure 11, that's just our 16th notes again, but make sure we get up to a nice high G sharp. Easy to not play high enough, so make sure you open your hand, get on the tip of your finger, reach all the way to the G sharp, but that gets us all the way to measure 14, where we have a variation of rhythmic things and melodic things. This is the strength of a violist, being able to do both of those things. So in 14, we subdivide 1 and 2, and then that pickup goes into this sort of melodic moment, where we have and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So we have very clear rhythms, and then you have this really beautiful moment of legato playing where you connect into the slur. So make sure you subdivide, but also change your mindset from a rhythmic person to a melodic person. Moving ahead, at 17, this is a note that's always hard to play. We have our high 3rd finger F sharp. Make sure your hand comes all the way around the instrument. You bring your elbow in so you can reach to the tip of your finger, and then, added bonus, you get to reach back for a G sharp. So your hand is very stretched from the F sharp to the G sharp. So make sure to get your hand ready for the G sharp, but then release your F sharp so your hand can relax and play that comfortably. Okay, practice track time. This is measures 10 through measure 18. Ready? 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 and melodic and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and reach and 3 and 4 and here at 18 we have some new music. This is a subito dynamic. S-U-B is short for subito, which means suddenly. So suddenly it's very quiet. So you have to reach for our C sharp, reach back for our D sharp. It's very quiet and mysterious, building back up to this exciting, very sort of soaring melody that we get to do at 22. Now at 22, we have to subdivide again to the 16th note to make sure we're precise. So we're going to think 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2. And then you're going to, after you play your C sharp, you're going to shift to third position, first finger high D, whole step to E, whole step to third finger F sharp and measure 25. So that's your third position. Now, if you're not very comfortable with third position, make sure you anchor your first finger on high D, match it with your open string, second finger E, whole step away, and then find third finger F sharp. If you just can't help yourself, go ahead and play hot cross buns up there. And bring yourself back to where it all began. Okay, moving on. Measure 26, nothing new, just pay attention to the low second finger B flat that changes to the B natural, and then reaching in 27 for a high third finger C sharp, and you're going to see a different organization of the 16th note. But let's do the practice track and we'll see where that fits. Here is measure 18 to 28. Pretty and the soft, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, E, and 1, E, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, E, and lift your bow, 1, E, and 2, and 3, and third position, 2, 3, E, and off piano, 1, E, and 2, E, B flat, B natural, C sharp, and 2 E, and 3 E, and 4, and. Now here at 28, we've got the same stuff that we did earlier. And the next challenging thing is at measure 32, where we have a whole new combination of 16th notes and ties. So take a look. There are slurs and there are ties. Slurs are connecting different notes, and ties are connecting the same note, because the composer wants the note value to be longer for that particular note, and he wants it also organized so that you can see where the large beats are. He could have drawn a dotted quarter note. He chose to draw a quarter note tied to an eighth note. Means the same thing, but it's nice as a musician to see the 4 beats more clearly. So let's try breaking this down, shall we? 32. We have 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E. 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. Good job. Now you might want to go back and play 32 through 35 a few times, counting out loud, and maybe even playing a smaller amount of music, just until you feel comfortable with where the notes are and what to do with your bow. There's a lot of coordination here. take your time, and repeat it. But if you're ready, looking ahead at 37, that's called tremolo, which really just means trembling. So sometimes you'll have a double down, sometimes you'll have a double up, but this is not a rhythm, it's an effect. So you look at the half note and you're gonna hold the F sharp for 2 beats, hold the D for 2 beats, hold the B flat 2 beats, hold the G for 2 beats, but we're gonna add the bow effect of tremolo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And how I'm making that sound is being very relaxed in my knuckles, very relaxed in my thumb, very relaxed in my upper arm to make sure I can move very quickly without flexing my arm. Because I don't want to have this sort of tight sound coming out of the instrument. We want it to be shimmery, like you're trembling. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at 39. Some words here. Maestoso, that means majestically. It's not really a tempo change, but it's an idea change. So if we went from very fast and wild, now we're going to this more broader, stately concept of how to play the music. Also, key signature change. We got rid of the flat, we've added a sharp, so now every F is an F sharp, unless you see a natural. Also, we have a time signature change, 3/4, 3 beats per measure. Okay. And look at this, sole. That means you get the solo. How nice. Now it says soli, which means the melody is being played by the entire section, not just the principal player. Okay, let's take a look. We have open G, unless you have some more experience, in which case you might want to use your 4th finger G so you can do some vibrato. And then 1st finger D, E flat. We're going to be playing all these beautiful notes on the G and C string. I'll make sure as we do our practice track that you get to hear that. Looking ahead at 51, because we're doing all of these sort of longer notes, make sure that in 50 you start subdividing. 1, 2, and 3, E, and a 1, E, and a 2, E, and a 3, E, and a 1. Otherwise you might just go randomly faster, and that's no good. So make sure you're subdividing, and again, you'll hear me counting. Looking ahead, 52, again, just beautiful connected melody, and 56, we go into the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way from measure 39 all the way up to 66 as a practice track. Ready? Here we go. Ready, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, 1, and 2, 3, and 1, that's 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, melody over and support, 47, 2, and 3, and 2, and melody, 1, 2, 3, 1, F sharp, and 1, and a 2, E, and a 3, E, and a 1, E, and a 2, E, and a 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 56, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, A flat low, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. To 2 measures of rest. Okay, 66 is that same beautiful melody, but up an octave. This will take a little time to deconstruct and to build in your hand, especially if 3rd position is a newer idea for you. So at 66, you put your 1st finger on G, on the D string. Then, with your 2nd finger, you can do a whole step and cross over to the G string and have 2nd finger D. Then right next door, half step away, 3rd finger E flat. And whole step away, 4th finger F. Then you cross back over, stay in 3rd position, 1st finger G, 2nd finger A, and then a whole step to 3rd finger B. Oh boy. Then back to the G string, 2nd finger D. Now you're in 3rd position. So you go over to the A string and you play 4th finger G, low 3rd finger F, and then you get the shift, 3rd finger E, second finger high D, first finger C, second finger high D, and then yay, you're in first position. Tricky. Let's try 66 to 76 under tempo. Ready? Here we are. 2 and 3 and 1. Second finger D, third finger E flat, and 2, 3, 1 and 2. Fourth finger G, F natural, shift, first position. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we have a fermata in 75 where you get to look up and watch the conductor and wait to see when 76 happens. So go over that part a few times. Make sure you're comfortable in third position, that you know what note you're going to, and then you can make this beautiful connected melody as you're jumping from string to string. It's a big moment for the violas. Looking ahead at 76, we already know what tremolo is. It means trembling. And then the word soli, we know what that means. It means it's a viola feature. And then at 81, you get to do your subdivisions again. Long notes followed by short notes. Oof, always rhythmic trouble. So at 81, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So making sure we count through the long note over the tie so we place those eighth notes correctly on the and of 3. 82, we know that. It's syncopated. 1 and 2 and 3 and same rhythm as before. Measure 85, same stuff as before, but here comes some good stuff. 86, we are going to play 16th notes. Now the bowing is pretty tricky. We have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. You can see how my bow is moving not with the main beats. So there's some coordination to happen with the bow hand. Then we get to add the left hand, which is in and of itself a little bit challenging because our fingers are moving pretty quickly. But it's not hard, at least from the fact that we get to stay in first position. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 and. So at least we get to stay in a position that we're very comfortable with so we can focus on making sure that the bowings are correct. Looking ahead to 89, we already know what subito means. It means suddenly. So 89, we get very soft. We pay attention to the changes with the accidentals with our C sharps and our F sharps. At 92, we already know that it's an eighth note or it's an eighth rest, but we know that there's 8 of them per measure, and we just do our math. And the last sort of weird rhythmic moment, 93. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and. We have to subdivide 16th notes during a rest. That can be tricky. So pay attention as I count out loud and we play from measures 76 all the way down to 105. Because everything you know we have covered in a slightly different way through the first 75 measures. So here we go. 76, tremolo. Ready, and a go, E, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, E, and a 4, E, and a 1, E, and a 2, E, and a 3, E, and a 4, E, and a 1, 2, E, and a 3, E, and a 4, E, and a 1, E, and a 2, E, and a 3, E, and a 4, E, and a 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, B flat, 1, F sharp, reach back for E flat, and C. Which takes us to 105. So if there are any measures that you need to practice again, go back, listen, work through it, or just pause the video and work on those measures exclusively now that you know how they go. Here's 105 all the way to 124. Lots of changes, 2 sharps. That means every F is F sharp, every C is C sharp. Also, 5 beats per measure, so we have to count to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also, we have andante misterioso, which means we're going to slow down the speed, and we're also going to change the color from bold and bright to a little bit darker in sound. So, can you count to 5? I bet you can, but we don't do it very often, so you have to really think while you're counting inside your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Because your body will probably do things in groups of 2s and 4s, because that's just more natural, comfortable, and practiced. But it's no harder to count to 5, we just don't do it as much. So make sure that you're counting actively during the long notes and the shorter notes. Looking ahead, we have 109, this interesting grouping of slurs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. This is something you're going to have to practice in your bow arm to make sure you have a slow enough bow when you have the 6/8 note slur together, and then a lighter, faster bow, just so you can get back to where you need to be for measure 110. Paying attention to where your bow has to be is one of the things that we as string players have to pay attention to. Happens again in 111, but it's no different. So one of the things that I'd just like to make sure that you feel comfortable doing is subdividing after a long note. So if you look at measure 121, you have a dotted half note, which is 3 beats, followed by 16th notes. That is a recipe for disaster when it comes to getting ready for what's about to happen, because we just played something slow and then something fast, and often the correlations aren't accurate. So here's 121, 1, 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 5, E and a 1. So it's not randomly faster, it's precisely faster. And as long as you're subdividing, you'll find where it fits. So here we go. We're going to start at 105 and play all the way to 124. Ready? 3, 4, 5. 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 5, E and a 1, 2, 3. And then you're done watching the conductor because the rest of the orchestra is being held in a fermata. So you look for the breath into 124 to get you ready for the next chapter of your exciting music. Back to where we zoom, but you know all this stuff. Take a look. We have tremolo. We know that. We know what sharps do. They make things up a half step, and we know that a B natural cancels the flat and brings it up to high second finger B. Then at 126, we've got that rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and terrific. Now let's look ahead. Do you have something special coming up? You do. At measure 130, you get to do all those crazy 16th note subdivisions again with the ties in the middle of the measure. 130, 1 E and 2. after that, you've got all this, no problem. So let's go ahead and do a practice track from 124 all the way to 145. As we're doing this, if you notice that you stumble on something, that's just a special place to practice. So make sure to put attention to where the mistakes are. And then you don't have to be sad about it. You just have to notice and then say, I've got to practice that measure. All right, here we go. 124 to 145. Ritzy and a go, E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. E, 4, E and a 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 1 and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 2 and 3 and 4, E and a 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 34. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 1, E and a 2 and 3, E and a 4, E and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4, E and a 1, E and a 2, E and 3, E and a piano and C sharp, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 42, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, E and a 2, E and a 3, E and a 4. Go back if you need to. Make sure you feel comfortable, especially with that melodic line at 130. But if you're ready, here's the tutorial from 145 to the end. It says più allegro. That means more faster. Then it says accelerando in 151. That means accelerate or more faster. Then we have vivace, which means lively or more faster. Then we have accelerando al fine, which means go faster and faster until the very end of the piece. We have a weird looking rhythm at 145, but it's actually very simple to play. Mr. Meyer just wants short notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So he made them 8 notes with a staccato. Then at 156, we get to do a lift, and it's all the same rhythms that we've seen the entire piece. So here's 145 to the end. I'll count out loud, and I'll do a slight accelerando to make it more and more exciting. Ready? Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and C sharp, nice and high. 3 and 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's all of Zoom. Thanks for making it through the entire tutorial. Make sure to work on any of those problem spots just to make sure that all of your good habits become great habits. Because once the left hand is comfortable, once we're making the sound that we want, then we're free to watch the conductor and play with everybody else in the orchestra. Nice job, and remember, if you practice every day, by the end of the year, you'll be taller.